Good morning. Welcome to the Premium Public Video Forecast discussion for Friday, August 1st, 2025. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino, CDM number 9. We have a couple of topics to cover this week, but more importantly, I got reached out to by the CDC, and I thought this would be a great addition for the weekly videos because, hey, we know that weather sometimes has an influence on people getting sick and what the flu is going on and all that stuff. So the CDC has provided me some data, and we'll be sharing this every week going on through the fall and into the winter on the latest on our activity in terms of all these viruses. And frankly, I'm surprised how many viruses there are, but it's pretty impressive. Now, the overall theme that I got from the CDC is that, hey, generally everything is on the low side, which is great news for this time of year if you happen to be traveling. But do watch out. Cold viruses, which have a multiple different types of viruses out there, is still a threat. So if you're traveling, especially with all the major hubs around the region, you might want to just be prepared for like a little cold here and there is possible. So there's something to keep it in mind of. But hey, look, COVID, influenza, and RSV, which is a nasty virus, and some of those stomach flu viruses, they're on the low side, which is exactly what I want to hear because I don't want to get sick. So we covered that. Now let's talk about the tropics. There is nothing going on. Literally nothing. It is as quiet as it could possibly be. It's quiet for the next 7 days, according to the NHC. The intertropical convergence zone is incredibly quiet. Now, remember, a couple of days ago, actually last week, there was all this excitement about the model guidance suggesting storms developing heading towards Florida. And, the usual crowd, they're posting all their hype about, oh, watch out for hurricanes hitting Florida and all sort of nonsense. But reality, nothing's going on. And as I said last week, while the model guidance is certainly interesting and the MJO is moving into a far more favorable phase, we'll cover that in a second, the overall theme here is that we don't have much in the way of any type of activity. And the reason why is, right, we have see this signal right here? That's a lot of dry air. A lot of dry air. So when you have this dry air and dust from the Sahara Desert in the way, it kind of makes it really difficult for a tropical system to develop. And we also have a little bit of vertical wind shear in the Caribbean. And look, the Caribbean is as clear as you could possibly get it for this time of year. It's very, very quiet, unusually quiet. And hopefully that continues as we move on through August, which would be great news. The tropical forecast I put out was basically near normal activity. So we have to get through August and September, before we could say, hey, look, we were actually too low while other individuals were very high. But the overall theme so far, it's very quiet. Model guidance, again, going through the first 7 days really doesn't feature anything significant. We have a little tropical wave that shows some sign of a little bit more organization, but not a warm core low. And that gets sheared apart by the trough that is moving off the East Coast this morning. So not really any threat there. There is a sign, maybe a little bit of development next week and beyond that point over the next 10 to 15 days. But I always take this with a grain of salt anyway. But there could be something here that we might have to watch. Again, this has to overcome a lot of dry air and some unfavorable conditions. But when we take a look at the forcing mechanisms and we take a look at the MJO, when the MJO moves into phases 8, 1, and 2 in August, that is a signal that, hey, the atmosphere is at least more favorable. So that's why we have to keep an eye on things. But right now, crickets, not much really going on at all. Looking at our long-range pattern here, let me pull this up here. More of the same. We have a nice trough over the Aleutians. We have a ridge dominating over the west and the desert southwest. And we have a trough axis that lingers around the Tennessee River Valley. Now, to start out through the next 90 hours, high pressure is in control. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. we have below normal heights in place with low humidity, which we'll cover even more in a second. But the overall theme remains the same over the next 10 days. We'll have to watch out for the Western Atlantic Ridge pumping up again, troughs approaching from the Great Lakes, a nice ridge on the West Coast, nice trough over the Aleutians. Not the best blocking here. This is more of a positive NAO signal right here, but you get the overall theme here. And we're going to see tropical moisture surge northward again. And we're going to have clashes now that the polar jet stream is getting a little bit more amplified because we are moving through August and heading towards September and heading towards fall. So the polar jet stream is going to be slightly more amplified, slightly further south. So we're going to have stronger cold fronts as we move through over the next 15 days that will be capable of pushing through rather than stalling over the region. So, of course, there's going to be that threat for pesky thunderstorms. And we are going to be watching out for, over the next 7 days, a short wave in the subtropical jet stream has a little bit better chance of developing. But overall, the overall theme of the weather pattern, not changing all that much. Taking a look at 500 millibar PVA, again, this ridge is taking hold. 500 millibar heights will be rising from here on out through the next 90 hours, setting up beautiful weather conditions. As we look at the end of next week, we'll watch out for this little shortwave here in the Tennessee River Valley, potentially spawning an area of low pressure along a stalled cold front boundary. And that could spawn some heavier rainfall potential. Nothing severe in terms of severe thunderstorms or anything of that nature, but we could get some areas of moderate heavy rainfall, nowhere near the potential of the rainfall that we saw yesterday, because the precipitable water values are going to be much lower in this event, in this scenario. But again, nothing really too significant taking hold. I want to show the precipitable water values during that period. Again, you can see them dropping off, and by the middle of next week, you can see a slight rebound, but nowhere near the tropical level. Again, we were up here in terms of precipitable water values. Now we're down here, much lower, pretty much near normal for this time of year, given the temperatures. And then we'll watch out for our Friday system, where, again, we have a little bit of an increase here, but your strongest precipitable water values are expected to be off the coast, but enough to produce some heavier downpours here and there, but not the extent that we saw last night and yesterday afternoon, where some locations, as always, during this time of year, it's more convective. Some locations got as much as 6 inches, and other locations got at barely a quarter of an inch. So, as always, it's always that type of volatility. But the key here is our relative humidity. This is at 700 millibars. Take a look at this drop. Now, for today, we have some low clouds hanging around the region, but you can see, look at that drop. Absolutely beautiful. Low humidity taking hold. So that explains right now where we have our low pressure system exiting. We have our northeasterly winds. Northeasterly winds can generally be a theme as we move on through this weekend. Generally light. Right now, 5 to 10 miles per hour. We have a few lingering showers here and there, but nothing really too significant. Those showers will be exiting, as you can see on our WeatherTap radar and surface map. There's our exiting low pressure system, and there's a few of those lingering showers hanging around with that northeasterly wind supporting a little bit more moisture right along the coast. But again, nothing really too heavy. When we dive into our precipitable water values, we're all starting to exit the region right now. And when we take a look at our visible satellite picture, first, here's our water vapor satellite picture. Here's the trough building in, deep moisture exiting. And here's our visible satellite picture. Plenty of low clouds and mid-level clouds right now, but the dry air is getting ready to build in, and you'll know when the dry air is into your region because the sun will start to break out, and boy, it's just going to feel so much better. Say goodbye to the 90s and the heat index near 100. Now we're talking about 70s, and right now in Freehold it's 65, and it feels like 65. That is what I'm talking about as far as refreshing conditions. And as you can see, not much really going on off to our west, generally tranquil conditions. So let's dive into this forecast for today. Gradual clearing, a few lingering showers here and there, high temperatures in the lower to mid 70s. Just very, very nice. in terms of temperatures, will improve throughout the day in terms of the cloud cover. Tonight into tomorrow morning, look for clearing skies with low temperatures in the lower to mid 50s over the northern interior, upper 50s to lower 60s in the suburbs, and lower to mid 60s in your urban areas. Tomorrow afternoon, sunny skies, high temperatures in the lower to mid 70s over the northern interior, mid 70s along the coast, and mid to upper 70s on the I-95 corridor with low humidity, very pleasant weather conditions. And the same on Sunday with clear skies, comfortable weather conditions, low temperatures in the mid to upper 50s over the northern interior, upper 50s to lower 60s in the suburbs, lower to mid 60s in your urban areas. High temperatures in the mid to upper 70s over the northern interior, upper 70s to lower 80s along the coast, and lower to mid 80s on the I-95 corridor. On Monday, high pressure remains in control with tranquil weather conditions expected. Look for low temperatures in the upper 50s to lower 60s, high temperatures in the lower to mid 80s over the northern interior, mid to upper 80s on the I-95 corridor, and upper 70s to lower 80s along the coast. On Tuesday, high pressure remains in control with excellent weather conditions. Look for low temperatures in the lower to mid 60s, high temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 80s over the northern interior, lower to mid 80s along the coast, and upper 80s to lower 90s on the I-95 corridor. Again, rebounding to more typical temperatures for this time of year. But the humidity will be low. So the heat index, well, basically if you're at 92, you might be at 93, 94. Not too bad at all. Now, on Wednesday, the high pressure system will be off the coast. A little bit more moisture in the atmosphere, increasing cloud cover, but dry. Look for low temperatures to range from the lower to mid 60s over the northern interior, mid to upper 60s in your suburbs, upper 60s to lower 70s in your urban areas. High temperatures will range from the lower to mid 80s. Then on Thursday, a cold front will move through with a few isolated showers, setting the stage for another area low pressure with that shortwave I was showing developing around Virginia. We'll expect increasing cloud cover with a few isolated to widely scattered showers. Look for low temperatures in the lower to mid 60s over the northern interior, mid to upper 60s in the suburbs, and upper 60s to lower 70s in your urban areas. High temperatures will range from the lower to mid 70s over the northern interior, upper 70s to lower 80s along the coast, and upper 70s to mid 80s on the I-95 corridor. On Friday, an area low pressure will approach with continued increase in clouds, showers developing, becoming more widespread in the afternoon and evening. We could have some heavier downpours here as well, so we'll keep an eye on that. Look for low temperatures in the lower to mid 60s over the northern interior, mid to upper 60s in the suburbs, upper 60s to lower 70s in your urban areas. High temperatures in the mid to upper 70s with more of an onshore flow, so you won't get high temperatures and intense temperatures or anything of that nature. We're generally in the 70s with plenty of cloud cover, but you also notice an increase in humidity with that onshore flow. And then Friday night, we're going to be dealing with some heavier rainfall, especially on the coastal plain. So we'll keep an eye on that and update that as we head into next week. That is your forecast discussion for today. Have a wonderful weekend. And as always, stay safe out there.